Alex Rin had never been so far from Earth in his life. He looked out through the enormous viewport of the shuttle, his small human hands pressed against the glass as planets, stars, and strange nebulae drifted past. Nova Prime, the galaxy's most prestigious interstellar academy, loomed ahead, a massive structure of silver spires and rotating platforms that made his stomach twist in awe and nerves. He had trained for this moment for years, but nothing could have truly prepared him for the sight of the academy from orbit. The shuttle's doors hissed open, and Alex stepped out onto the landing platform. The gravity adjustment here was already slightly higher than Earth's, just enough to remind him that humans were small and fragile in comparison to the galaxy's other species. He stumbled slightly but caught himself. Around him, cadets of every imaginable species moved with grace, their bodies built for strength, speed, or flight. A towering reptilian cadet with 4 arms gave him a polite nod, while a floating jelly-like alien made an amusing sound that seemed like a laugh. Alex swallowed hard and straightened. He reminded himself why he was here. Humans were always underestimated. Everyone said they were weak, slow, and fragile. The aliens joked that humans didn't belong in a real space academy, that they would crumble under the first real test. Alex clenched his fists. He wasn't fragile. Humans survived deserts, oceans, mountains, and storms. Humans had built cities, rockets, and machines that could reach the stars, and Alex was going to prove that, starting with the first day of training. The orientation hall was vast, with floating platforms and lights that hovered mid-air. A holographic display showed the Academy's motto in multiple languages. "Strength is not in the body alone, courage makes the strong." Alex smiled faintly. Perhaps this motto applied to humans more than any other species. He took a deep breath as an alien instructor approached. It was a 6-legged, fur-covered being with bright orange eyes and a grin that looked like trouble. "Ah, the human," the instructor said, his voice a strange mixture of clicks and hums translated into basic galactic common. "You are tiny, fragile, amusing. Welcome to the Academy. I am Krelth, your first instructor. Today, we will see if you survive the gravity test." The humans, Alex's distant cousins who had joined the Academy before him, were whispering encouragement. "Don't let them get to you," one said. "Just stay calm and move smart." "Begin at double gravity," he announced with a mischievous glint in his eyes. Alex froze for a moment. Double gravity. He had trained under slightly higher than Earth's gravity, but this would be much harder. Muscles strained as the pull pressed him down, making every movement feel like lifting a ton of weight. The alien cadets laughed, thinking it would be impossible for a human to move under double gravity. Alex wobbled but forced himself to take a step. He focused on keeping his balance, lowering his center of gravity and moving carefully. His legs burned, his arms trembled, and sweat rolled down his forehead. But he kept going. He stumbled over an obstacle but caught himself, using momentum and balance in ways the aliens didn't expect. "You are still moving," Krelth said, frowning slightly. "Interesting, most humans collapse in the first minute." Humans adapted. He remembered his father teaching him how to climb trees, carry heavy loads, and never give up. He would survive. Minutes passed. The aliens began murmuring among themselves, clearly surprised. Alex continued, stepping over moving platforms, ducking under swinging beams, and pulling himself up climbing walls using sheer grip strength. His muscles screamed, but his mind stayed clear. He focused on technique, on thinking one step ahead, on using gravity against him instead of letting it crush him. Finally, Krelth stepped forward, clearly expecting Alex to collapse at any second. But Alex stood tall, or as tall as he could under the double gravity, breathing heavily but still moving. He wiped sweat from his brow and gave a small, confident smirk. "Not bad," he said quietly. Then, without missing a beat, he asked, "Can we try triple gravity next?" Then he chuckled, a low rumble of amusement. "You dare to ask for triple? Very well. Let us see what your species is truly made of." Before the test began, Alex noticed something important. The other cadets were now watching him differently. Their smirks and laughter had faded, replaced by a mix of curiosity, disbelief, and respect. They had underestimated him, just like the galaxy underestimated humans. He had already started to change their perception simply by refusing to be weak. The aliens adjusted the chamber. Gravity increased again, even heavier than before. Every movement felt like lifting mountains. Alex's arms shook as he climbed a vertical wall, his legs trembling under the weight of his own body. Each step forward required a mental calculation, a strategy, a careful choice of where to place his strength. He imagined himself as a machine, every muscle working in harmony, every nerve firing in coordination. Pain existed, yes, but it did not stop him. Pain had never stopped humans. He slipped at one point, falling halfway down a platform. A roar of laughter erupted from the alien cadets. Alex gritted his teeth, holding onto the edge with trembling fingers. He took a deep breath and pushed himself up. The laughter turned to stunned silence. He moved again, deliberately and efficiently, making impossible maneuvers that the aliens hadn't thought humans capable of. His endurance, his creativity, his stubborn refusal to quit, it all shone. Krelth watched closely, his grin turning into something closer to a frown of amazement. "Perhaps humans are not as weak as we thought," he muttered, mostly to himself. Other instructors nodded quietly, whispering to each other, their expressions unreadable. Alex didn't know what they were saying, but he felt the shift in the air. He wasn't just a trainee anymore. He was a human, a representative of a species that refused to bow to weakness. By the end of the first trial, Alex was exhausted, drenched in sweat, muscles burning but still standing. The other cadets clapped reluctantly, some out of respect, some out of sheer disbelief. Alex smiled faintly, breathing heavily. "Humans survive," he said quietly, more to himself than anyone else. He felt a thrill of pride, a spark of excitement. This was only the beginning. As he left the chamber, Krelth approached him. "You survived triple gravity?" he asked, a mix of disbelief and admiration in his voice. "You have spirit, human, perhaps more than any alien I have trained. We will see if you can handle the rest of the academy. But you have made one thing very clear. Humans are not weak, not even close." Ahead lay weeks of training, challenges no human had ever faced, and obstacles that would push every limit of strength, skill, and courage. But Alex felt ready. Humans had always survived. Humans had always adapted. And Alex was going to show the galaxy exactly why. As he walked toward the dormitories, his legs still heavy from the gravity trial, he glanced back at the massive gravity chamber. Somewhere in the distance, alien cadets whispered, glancing at him with a mixture of awe and fear. They didn't know it yet, but the joke had backfired spectacularly. The human they had tried to break was only getting started. Alex entered his room and sat on the small bunk, taking off his gloves and breathing deeply. He could feel his muscles trembling, but he was exhilarated. He had faced something no human had before, something the aliens thought would destroy him, and he had thrived. His mind already raced with ideas, strategies, and new ways to push himself even further. Tomorrow would bring more tests, more challenges, and more opportunities to prove that humans could endure what no other species could, and he was ready for all of it. Because humans didn't just survive, they thrived, they adapted, and they refused to be underestimated. And Alex Rin would make sure the galaxy remembered that. The next morning, Alex Rin woke to the low hum of the academy. The dormitory was quiet except for the soft murmur of alien cadets preparing for their morning drills. He stretched, feeling the lingering ache from yesterday's triple gravity test. Every muscle protested, but it was a good kind of pain, the kind that reminded him he had pushed himself beyond what even the aliens thought possible. He smiled to himself. Humans were built to endure, and today would be no different. Breakfast in the Academy's central hall was a strange experience. Tables floated midair and trays of food hovered in front of each cadet. Alex grabbed a portion of protein paste and some fruit-like globes that glowed softly. Around him, alien cadets whispered and stared. Yesterday's feat had spread quickly. The human who survived triple gravity was the talk of the Academy. Some were curious, some skeptical, and some openly wary. Alex ignored the stares, focusing on eating and preparing for the next challenge. "Ready for today?" asked one of the human cadets, a small woman named Mara, sitting across from him. She had joined the academy a year earlier and was one of the few humans at Nova Prime. "The instructors are calling it the Agility Gauntlet. They say no human has ever made it through without failing half the obstacles." The group walked to the training complex. The alien instructors, including Krelth, were waiting, hovering above a massive chamber filled with obstacles, platforms, swinging beams, spinning walls, and floating hoops. The gauntlet was designed to push cadets beyond their limits, testing balance, agility, and endurance. A display showed the gravity would be variable, changing from normal to double and back randomly throughout the course. "Today," Krelth announced, his 6 legs shifting on the platform, "we see if the human's luck continues. You will face obstacles no human has ever faced. Fail and you will fall. Succeed and perhaps the galaxy will reconsider your species." Luck had nothing to do with it. Humans survived because they adapted. They learned, calculated, and used creativity where others relied on brute strength alone. The first obstacle was a series of moving platforms. Alex stepped forward cautiously, adjusting his weight, keeping low, and timing each jump. Aliens leapt easily from platform to platform, their long limbs giving them an advantage. Alex's movements were slower, calculated, but precise. He stumbled once, catching himself with a hand on the edge of a platform. A murmur ran through the spectators. Aliens hadn't expected him to survive the first stretch. Next came a series of swinging beams, moving in unpredictable patterns. Many cadets had fallen already, some hanging awkwardly from beams while instructors flicked them down with gentle nudges. Alex paused, observing the rhythm. Then he sprinted forward, swinging his body at the perfect moment, landing safely on the next platform. He grinned. "Observation and timing," he muttered, "not strength. Humans know how to use their brains. Most humans rely on luck, but this one calculates." Sweat poured down his face, but he didn't stop. The human below cheered, "Go, Alex, show them." The alien cadets were silent now, watching in disbelief. Midway through the gauntlet, a sudden change. Gravity increased without warning, pressing Alex down with the weight of 2.5 times Earth's pull. He gasped, knees bending under the strain. Many cadets fell at this stage, but Alex adapted immediately. He adjusted his stance, moved slowly, letting gravity work for him instead of against him. He pushed with his legs, using momentum to swing through the next obstacle. His mind worked faster than his muscles, calculating every motion, predicting every shift. By the time he reached the spinning walls, a series of rotating cylinders meant to disorient, Alex was exhausted but determined. He took a deep breath, remembering what his father had taught him. Strength comes from persistence, not from power. He timed the rotations, jumping from one cylinder to another, keeping his center of gravity low. He landed on the final platform, legs shaking, arms trembling, but he stood. The chamber fell silent. Then a low hum of applause, first from humans, then from some aliens. Even Krelth's grin had transformed into something that resembled approval. "Remarkable," he said. "No human has ever finished the gauntlet at full variable gravity without help." "Help? I didn't need help," he said. "I adapted." Alex studied the environment carefully. Instead of brute force, he used clever angles, letting the momentum of floating platforms assist him. He ducked under spheres, stepped lightly on edges, and slid across surfaces, moving faster than some alien cadets. By the end of the obstacle course, Alex was panting heavily, muscles screaming, but a smile spread across his face. He had done what no one expected. The instructors gathered around, whispering in strange clicks. Krelth's eyes met Alex's. "You are unlike any human I have seen," he admitted. "Your endurance, your creativity, you survive where others fail." Humans were underestimated in the galaxy because they looked fragile, but they survived by thinking, adapting, and refusing to quit. Alex had just demonstrated the first part of human strength, intelligence combined with resilience. The final part of the day involved a simulated rescue mission. Each cadet had to navigate the gauntlet while carrying a weight, representing a wounded comrade. Aliens lifted massive weights easily, but Alex carried a weighted dummy almost as heavy as he was. Every step was a struggle. Gravity shifted again, and obstacles required him to climb, swing, and jump. He used his smaller size to his advantage, squeezing through narrow passages the aliens could not fit. Midway, a swinging beam knocked him backward. He caught the dummy instinctively and leaped to the next platform. Cadets gasped. "Humans do have some crazy instincts," one muttered. Alex smiled. Instinct, training, and persistence. It was all part of human adaptation. Finally, he reached the finish line. He set down the dummy carefully and raised his hands. Exhaustion threatened to collapse him, but pride and determination kept him upright. The crowd of cadets and instructors erupted. Some clapped, some cheered, some whispered in disbelief. Alex was breathing heavily, but he felt an incredible surge of energy. Krelth stepped forward. "Human, you have done something incredible. You have adapted to obstacles beyond your natural capacity, survived variable gravity, and completed the gauntlet. You have shown what humans are capable of when they refuse to give up." The whispers grew louder. Humans might be small, fragile-looking, but they were unpredictable, clever, and relentless. For the first time, some aliens began to doubt their assumptions. Perhaps humans were not a species to be underestimated. Later that evening, Alex sat in his dormitory, muscles aching but mind racing. Today had tested his body and his mind, but he had survived. He had adapted. He had proven that humans could endure what aliens considered impossible. And tomorrow, the instructors had hinted at a new challenge, one involving zero gravity and combat simulations. Alex smirked. He was ready. Humans thrived in challenges, and he would show the galaxy that every limit was just an opportunity to adapt, to learn, to survive, and to triumph. He leaned back, looking out the window at the stars twinkling against the dark expanse of space. Nova Prime was a test, but it was also a stage for humans to prove they were more than fragile. They were resilient, resourceful, unstoppable. And Alex Rin was determined to make sure the galaxy remembered that fact. The next morning, Alex woke with a dull ache running through his muscles, a reminder that yesterday's gauntlet had pushed him harder than anything he had faced before. But the ache was nothing compared to the excitement he felt. Today, the instructors had promised a new challenge, an advanced gauntlet combining gravity shifts, agility tests, and mental puzzles. It was designed to break cadets, to separate the ones who could adapt from the ones who would fail. Alex pulled on his training suit and headed to the central training complex. The hallways were alive with energy. Alien cadets whispered as he passed, some giving him curious glances, others shaking their heads in disbelief. Word of his triple gravity feat and the successful gauntlet run had spread across the academy like wildfire. Some admired him, others doubted him. All of them, however, were watching now. At the entrance of the advanced gauntlet, Krelth awaited, his orange eyes gleaming. "Human," he said, "today's trial is the gauntlet of adaptation. Many cadets have failed before you, most never finish. We will see if your species can rise above its limits. We shall see if you can back them up." Gravity would shift unpredictably, alternating from double to half to normal and back again. One mistake could send a cadet tumbling to the floor. Alex stepped forward. The first obstacle was a series of floating platforms suspended over a deep pit. The platforms shifted in random patterns, some spinning, some moving laterally. Alien cadets bounded across effortlessly, using long limbs and natural adaptations. Alex took a deep breath and focused. He observed the timing, calculated the rhythm, and leaped carefully. One misstep would send him plummeting, but he used small adjustments with his legs and arms, maintaining balance. The next section involved a wall with shifting handholds and grips. Many cadets failed here, misjudging the movement of grips or overestimating their reach. Alex approached methodically. His smaller size allowed him to squeeze between grips that were impossible for larger aliens. He used momentum to swing himself upward, holding his breath as the wall tilted suddenly. His arms burned, fingers slipping occasionally, but he held on. When he reached the top, the instructors muttered in surprise. "Human, unusual, calculating, adaptable," Krelth said, tilting his head. The chamber shifted again. Gravity increased to double, then immediately dropped to half. Alex stumbled but caught himself, landing on a narrow beam that twisted under the low gravity. Some alien cadets floated with ease, using wings or multiple limbs, but Alex used clever balance and timing. He realized that the shifting gravity, instead of being a hindrance, could be used to help his momentum. He pushed off the beam at just the right moment, launching himself across a gap to the next platform. Midway through the gauntlet, a series of holographic puzzles appeared. Cadets had to solve logic sequences to open doors or move platforms. Many alien cadets struggled. Their instincts favored strength over problem-solving. Alex, however, thrived. His mind worked quickly, seeing patterns and predicting outcomes. He solved each puzzle while maintaining balance, moving faster than most cadets who relied solely on brute skill. At one point, a platform collapsed under a heavier alien cadet. Alex reacted instinctively, leaping to the edge of a floating panel and using the broken platform as a stepping point. He swung across the gap, gripping the edge with fingers that burned from the strain. The instructors whispered among themselves. "Remarkable," one said. "Most cadets would have fallen." The human adapts under pressure. He moved faster than expected, weaving through the corridor as the walls spun and shifted. By now, a group of alien cadets had stopped to watch. They whispered, nudging each other in disbelief. How is he doing this?" one asked. "Humans are supposed to be fragile," another muttered. "Perhaps we underestimated them." Gravity increased suddenly, nearly twice Earth's pull, making every step a struggle. He lifted the weighted dummy, adjusting his stance to maintain balance. The swinging beams knocked him sideways, but he pivoted and pushed forward. Mental puzzles appeared mid-route. He glanced at the sequence, calculated quickly, and input the correct codes. A door opened, revealing a narrow passage that required crawling under a spinning obstacle. Alex maneuvered carefully, squeezing through. His body ached, but he didn't stop. Humans thrived on challenges. Pain was simply a part of the process. Finally, he reached the last platform, a wide area with moving panels above him and a deep pit below. One mistake here meant failure. His legs trembled, arms quivering, but his mind stayed sharp. He calculated the next move, leaped onto a moving panel and pushed forward. Another leap, and he was at the final holographic console. He solved the last puzzle, which released a platform for the exit. He stepped forward, setting down the weighted dummy carefully, chest heaving. Silence filled the chamber, followed by a mix of whispers, gasps, and finally applause. Krelth stepped forward, his 6 legs shifting as he studied Alex. "Human, you have done what no cadet has ever done. You have completed the gauntlet of adaptation. You have survived every obstacle, adapted to every challenge, and solved every problem. You are remarkable." Later in the recovery area, Alex stretched and reviewed the day's events. His muscles ached like never before, but he felt a thrill of pride. Each challenge had pushed him to his limits, and he had survived by thinking, adapting, and refusing to quit. Humans were underestimated across the galaxy, and Alex had begun to change that perception. Mara joined him, holding 2 hydration packs. "You did it again, Alex. You've shown them humans are not weak, not in body and not in mind. Your species may be underestimated, but you have proven strength beyond what I thought possible. The next challenge will push you even further. It will involve zero gravity and simulated combat. Only a few cadets ever complete it. Many have tried, many have failed." That was exactly the kind of challenge humans thrived on, unpredictable, chaotic, and requiring both body and mind. He grinned. "Then I'll be ready. Humans survive, humans adapt, humans win." Tomorrow, the final stage begins. In his room, Alex sat by the window, looking out at the stars and distant planets. Nova Prime was only the beginning. The Academy had tested his strength, agility, and mind, but the universe had many more challenges waiting. He thought of Earth, of his family, and of the countless humans who had survived against impossible odds throughout history. Humans were survivors. Humans adapted. And Alex Rin would carry that legacy into the stars, proving that no challenge was too great, no gravity too heavy, and no obstacle insurmountable. Tomorrow would bring the ultimate test, zero-G combat simulations, a trial that combined everything he had learned with new, unpredictable dangers. Aliens might have strength, wings, or natural adaptations, but humans had determination, creativity, and the ability to thrive under conditions no one expected. Alex leaned back, closing his eyes for a brief rest. The muscles ached, yes, but his mind was sharper than ever. He was ready. The gauntlet of adaptation had proven one thing clearly: humans could survive anything. And now the real challenge was coming. The next day, Alex felt a mixture of excitement and nervous energy as he arrived at the training complex. Today was the day the instructors had called the zero-G combat simulation, a trial so challenging that many cadets had never finished it. The chamber was enormous, a floating arena filled with platforms, spinning obstacles, and holographic enemies programmed to react unpredictably. Gravity had been disabled entirely, and cadets would have to navigate while performing combat maneuvers, dodging attacks, and completing objectives, all in complete zero gravity. Alex's pulse quickened. His muscles still ached from the gauntlet of adaptation, but he had prepared mentally. Humans thrived on challenges. Humans adapted. Humans endured. And now he would demonstrate all three in a situation designed to break even the most advanced alien cadets. The arena doors opened, and cadets floated into position. Alex glanced at the other participants, towering reptilian warriors, agile winged creatures, and multi-limbed aliens who looked perfectly suited for zero-G combat. Some of them smirked at him, clearly thinking he had no chance in this environment. He ignored the whispers, taking a deep breath and focusing on the task ahead. Krelth's voice boomed through the chamber. "Cadets, your challenge today is simple in words but deadly in practice. Survive the arena, complete the objectives, and outmaneuver your enemies. Zero gravity will test your strength, coordination, and mind. Only the truly adaptable will succeed. Begin." Platforms rotated and floated unpredictably, holographic enemies darted toward each cadet, and projectiles whizzed through the air. Most alien cadets moved quickly, relying on wings, long limbs, or natural strength to navigate. Alex, smaller and lighter, had no such advantage, but humans had ingenuity. He used small pushes off the walls to propel himself forward, twisting and spinning in midair to reach platforms. He dodged a projectile, pivoted mid-spin, and used a nearby rail to swing into position. The first enemy holograms lunged at him. Alien cadets struck them with brute force, knocking some down but also losing balance themselves. Alex observed their patterns, timing, and weaknesses. Instead of trying to fight head-on, he used calculated strikes and momentum, slamming into enemies with careful pushes that sent them tumbling into walls. Every movement was deliberate. Every action conserved energy while maximizing effect. As he floated toward the next platform, a sudden warning flashed across the arena. Gravity would shift briefly, creating zones of extreme pull and push. Most cadets struggled, spinning out of control. Alex's body adjusted instinctively. He flexed his legs, twisted his torso, and used his arms like rudders. The pull of gravity became a tool instead of a threat, propelling him toward the next target. One particularly tricky sequence involved swinging beams that rotated in circles while holographic enemies attacked simultaneously. Alien cadets panicked, some colliding with beams or each other. Alex, however, moved like water, flowing with the beams, timing his jumps perfectly, and striking enemies with precise pushes that sent them spinning safely away. He felt exhilarated. Humans thrived under pressure, and this was pure pressure. Midway through the simulation, the arena introduced a puzzle. Cadets had to activate a series of switches floating in midair to open a door to the next section. Each switch required a combination of speed, strategy, and careful movement. Alien cadets floundered, swinging wildly or using brute force that misaligned the switches. Alex studied the pattern for a moment, then propelled himself carefully from switch to switch. His smaller size allowed him to reach angles others could not. Within moments, the door opened. He floated through, already several steps ahead of many alien cadets. The final stage of the arena was the most chaotic, multiple moving platforms, rotating cylinders, and several enemies all attacking at once. The room was a storm of motion and danger. Most cadets struggled to keep orientation, spinning uncontrollably or colliding with obstacles. Alex took a deep breath, focusing entirely on observation and adaptation. He visualized his path, predicting how each platform would move, how enemies would react, and how gravity zones would shift. With precise timing, he leaped to the first moving platform, spinning midair to avoid an incoming projectile. He used the recoil to propel himself toward the next platform while striking an enemy with calculated force. Another leap, another enemy disabled. His muscles burned and sweat stung his eyes even in zero gravity, but he refused to stop. Humans endured. Humans adapted. Humans conquered. One alien cadet, a multi-limbed creature twice his size, tried to block him, swinging a long arm to knock him away. Alex twisted in midair, catching the cadet's limb and using it as a pivot to launch himself toward a higher platform. The alien cadet tumbled backward, shocked and impressed. Alex's movements were unpredictable, efficient, and clever. Humans were not easy to anticipate, and that unpredictability was their advantage. As Alex reached the last platform, a holographic enemy moved to intercept him. He calculated the enemy's trajectory, timed a jump, and used a wall to push off with maximum force, spinning around the enemy and knocking it into a corner. The platform beneath him shifted dangerously, but he stabilized instantly, landing carefully. The arena's door slid open. Alex had finished the simulation. Silence filled the chamber. The other cadets stared, some in disbelief, others in admiration. Krelth floated down, his expression a mixture of surprise and respect. "Human, you have done the impossible. You have navigated zero gravity, defeated all opponents, solved the puzzles, and completed the combat simulation. Your species may be underestimated, but you are remarkable." Even those who had doubted him yesterday now nodded in respect. Humans were small, fragile-looking perhaps, but their determination, creativity, and adaptability made them formidable. Krelth motioned for Alex to follow him to the observation area. "Human," he said, "you have surpassed expectations at every stage. Your ingenuity, timing, and adaptability are beyond what most cadets show. You have taught us that weakness is not always obvious. I suspect humans may be stronger in ways we have not anticipated. But the journey does not end here. The universe has challenges far beyond this academy. Remember today, remember that humans can endure what others cannot." He had faced challenges designed to test the strongest, fastest, most adaptable cadets, and he had not only survived but excelled. Humans were underestimated because others focused on appearances. They had not counted on intelligence, determination, and unpredictability. Later that evening, Alex sat in his dormitory, reflecting on the day's events. His muscles ached, and exhaustion pressed against him like a heavy weight, but his mind was sharp. Every step, every push, every calculation had reinforced one truth. Humans thrived where others struggled because they refused to be predictable, because they adapted, and because they endured against all odds. Mara floated in to join him, carrying a small tray of sustenance. "You really did it today," she said softly. "The instructors are talking about you. They didn't just respect you, they are studying your movements. They want to understand how a human adapts so quickly. Strength is more than muscle." Tomorrow, he would graduate from this phase of training. And then, who knew what challenges awaited in the galaxy? The Academy, the instructors, and even the alien cadets had learned one clear lesson. Humans were not to be underestimated. They could endure extremes, think faster than their opponents, and adapt in ways no other species could predict. And Alex Rin was the proof. As night fell over Nova Prime, Alex closed his eyes, feeling both the fatigue and the exhilaration of the day. The universe was vast, unpredictable, and full of dangers, but that was exactly the kind of environment humans thrived in. Tomorrow, he would graduate from this phase of training. But today, he had already shown the galaxy that humans could overcome challenges no one believed they could. Humans were more than their size, their appearance, or their initial weaknesses. Humans were resilient, clever, and unstoppable. And Alex Rin was determined to carry that truth forward, one challenge at a time, proving that humans could not only survive among the stars, they could dominate them. The sun rose over Nova Prime, bathing the Academy in a soft golden light. Today was the day of the graduation ceremony for the cadets who had completed the most challenging phase of training. The human cadet who had survived triple gravity, mastered the agility gauntlet, and conquered zero-G combat would finally face the culmination of weeks of trials, recognition, respect, and a place among the elite cadets of the galaxy. Alex Rin woke early, muscles still sore but his spirit ablaze. He had prepared for this day not for applause but to prove something larger, that humans were more than their small stature and fragile appearance. They were resilient, adaptable, clever, and unstoppable. The cadets gathered in the central arena, a massive structure with floating platforms, banners, and holographic displays projecting the Academy's motto. "Strength is not in the body alone, courage makes the strong." Alex took a deep breath as he floated into position. Around him, alien cadets whispered, some in admiration, some in disbelief. Even instructors who had once doubted him now observed quietly, taking note of every detail, every movement, every confident gesture. Krelth, his first instructor, stepped forward. "Cadets of Nova Prime," he began, his voice echoing through the arena, "you have all faced trials designed to push you to your limits. Some of you have succeeded, others have faltered. But today, one cadet has achieved what no one expected. One cadet has survived conditions meant to break the strongest, adapted to every challenge, and demonstrated ingenuity and courage beyond measure." His eyes were steady, his posture confident. He was not the fragile human they had expected. He was something more. Krelth continued, "Alex Rin, you have proven that humans cannot be underestimated. You have mastered triple gravity, conquered the agility gauntlet, and triumphed in zero-G combat. You have demonstrated skill, courage, and resilience that exceeds expectations. By the Academy's standards, you are now among the elite." At first hesitant, the alien cadets and instructors had begun to cheer, some even floating in excitement. Alex's fellow humans clapped loudly, smiles of pride and relief on their faces. The other cadets, some who had mocked him at the start, now nodded with admiration. Even Krelth, who had once treated him as a joke, gave a rare, approving grin. The ceremony moved forward with holographic displays showing highlights of Alex's achievements. Scenes from the gravity chamber, the agility gauntlet, and the zero-G combat simulation played across the arena. Each scene was met with murmurs of astonishment. Cadets whispered about how Alex had calculated every movement, adapted to changing conditions, and used his smaller size to his advantage. Humans, they realized, were unpredictable, clever, and capable of feats they had never imagined. After the ceremony, Alex was approached by several instructors and cadets. Krelth stepped forward, placing a clawed hand on his shoulder. "Human, you have not only survived, but you have changed the perception of your species here at the Academy. Your ingenuity, persistence, and courage have proven that humans are not fragile. They are formidable in ways many of us never expected. No one can doubt us now. Humans will be ready. Intelligence, creativity, and the will to endure were equally important, and humans had mastered all three. As the day progressed, Alex was invited to meet the Academy's council, the highest authority overseeing training programs and cadet evaluations. The council consisted of leaders from various species, all of whom had high expectations for their cadets. They had watched the simulations, studied the reports, and now wanted to meet the human who had defied all odds. One of the council members, a tall, crystalline being with eyes like liquid silver, spoke first. Alex Rin, your performance has been remarkable. Not only have you completed trials that many cadets fail, but you have also shown innovation, adaptability, and courage. You have proven that humans are a species capable of rising to the highest challenges. You have earned our respect, and the respect of all future cadets who follow your example. Krelth, standing nearby, gave a small chuckle of satisfaction. Human, you have done more than survive. You have inspired not only your species, but also others to rethink their assumptions. That is true strength. He looked out at the cityscape of Nova Prime, with its towering spires, floating platforms, and distant stars. He thought of Earth, his family, and the countless humans who had survived against impossible odds throughout history. Humans were underestimated across the galaxy because others judged them by size, appearance, or natural abilities. But humans endured, adapted, and thrived where others failed. Alex had shown the Academy that humans could face extremes and come out stronger. Mara floated beside him, smiling. You've done it, Alex. You've changed everything here. Humans will be remembered now. It's every human who refuses to give up, who adapts, who faces challenges head-on. That is what makes humans remarkable. But he was confident. Humans could survive. Humans could adapt. Humans could thrive anywhere. As he prepared for rest, he thought about the lessons of the past weeks: courage, persistence, cleverness, and adaptability. These were the traits that set humans apart. Every obstacle he had faced, every challenge he had overcome had reinforced one undeniable truth. Humans were a force to be reckoned with. When he closed his eyes, he envisioned the galaxy stretching out before him, full of unknown worlds, new species, and uncharted dangers. He smiled, knowing that humans would meet them all with ingenuity, resilience, and determination. Nova Prime had been a test, and humans had passed. But the universe was vast, and Alex Rin was ready to carry the legacy of his species forward. The next day, humans would be respected, their achievements remembered, and their courage acknowledged. Alex had proven that appearances could be deceiving. Small size, fragile frames, or underestimated abilities did not define strength. Humans defined strength by their persistence, their creativity, and their refusal to quit. And Alex Rin would continue to prove it, one challenge at a time. The Academy had witnessed it. Instructors, cadets, and even the Council recognized it. The galaxy would remember it. Humans were not weak. Humans were adaptable. Humans were unstoppable. As Alex drifted off to sleep, he thought of the words that had guided him through every trial. Survive, adapt, thrive. They were more than words. They were the essence of humanity. The galaxy had underestimated humans for too long. That mistake would never be made again. And Alex Rin, the human who had survived triple gravity, conquered the gauntlet, and mastered zero-G combat, had made sure of it. They doubled the gravity for the human trainee. As a joke, he asked for triple Sci-fi Stories.